Alicia Brown's lawyers just put something in writing that sounds less like a defense and more like a promise of what's coming later, and it's put her at the center of a federal defamation suit with real court filings attached to it, not just Instagram posts and back-and-forth statements. Francesca Amaker filed the suit June 30th in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Georgia, accusing Brown of running or directing a set of Instagram posts, some through anonymous accounts, all claiming Amaker had an affair with Brown's husband, Big Tigger, legal name Darian Morgan. It doesn't stop at the affair claim. The complaint says the posts also implied Amaker only got her job at V103 because of that alleged relationship. Wiping out someone's marriage narrative is messy, but common in situations like this. Suggesting a journalist didn't earn her own seat at the table is a different category of harm, and it's exactly the kind defamation law exists to address. Amaker says there's never been anything beyond a professional relationship with Morgan, going back to when she joined the show in May. She's a former 11 Alive anchor and a 4-time Emmy winner, and her legal team is leaning on that record to argue the accusation didn't just embarrass her, it undercut a reputation she spent years building in Atlanta media. Then there's the video, a June clip Brown allegedly posted, showing a facial injury, tagging Amaker directly. That's the moment this stopped being an affair rumor and became something with legal teeth. Amaker's suit claims the post implied she was somehow responsible for, or connected to, violence against Brown, an accusation of being tied to abuse she says she had nothing to do with. Here's the detail most of the coverage keeps glossing over. The lawsuit alleges Brown was pushing all of this to promote an app in development called #HasedSheSaid, citing messages allegedly from Brown that basically said, "The app is loading now that she has everyone's attention." Real allegations of infidelity and abuse, allegedly, functioning as a marketing hook for a product launch. If that detail holds up in front of a jury, motive stops being an abstract legal concept and becomes the centerpiece of the entire case. Amaker is claiming harassment, threats, lost bookings, and lost business relationships as a direct result. She had to bring on crisis management and PR support just to contain the fallout, on top of whatever emotional toll came with it. The case landed in federal court specifically because she's a Georgia resident. Brown claims North Carolina's citizenship, and the alleged damages clear the $75,000 threshold required for that kind of jurisdiction. None of this started with the lawsuit. Brown went public first, June 6, with abuse and infidelity claims against Tigger. She posted a graphic video, crying, visible stitches, captioned with something like asking why her face looked the way it did, then deleted it. She tagged Amaker in it directly. Morgan's version is that the two were arguing on May 9th over a series of texts between him and a coworker, and when his wife started recording the argument on her phone, she ended up with what the warrant describes as a small bruise to her lower lip during the altercation that followed. The warrant describes the argument escalating verbally before it turned physical, with both sides trading insults in the moments before things got heated. 2 weeks after Brown's initial post, Tigger's arrested, aggravated battery, child cruelty, tied to that same incident at his home. Morgan responded publicly, denying the affair allegations categorically, and saying he and Amaker have never been anything more than friends and colleagues, while asking for privacy as his family works through it. So there are two separate legal fires burning at the same time now. A criminal case against him, a civil case against her. Neither one is staying in its own lane, and whatever surfaces in one is going to leak straight into the other, whether either legal team wants that or not. Now the response everyone's actually talking about. A day after getting served, Brown's camp puts out a statement, not from her personally, from her legal and PR team. No denial anywhere in it, just that she's been advised not to touch specifics while multiple cases remain pending, and that out of respect for the process, she won't discuss the details right now. Then the line doing all the actual work in the statement, the receipts, texts, evidence, The legal process itself will speak for themselves. That's not "this is false," that's "wait for it." There's a real difference between those two positions, and it's the kind of difference a legal team chooses on purpose, not by accident. Saying "the truth will come out" preserves every option Brown might need later. Saying "this didn't happen" locks her into a claim she'd have to defend under oath immediately. Her team also says she and Tigger shared and communicated everything, which reads as a signal that there's a paper trail and that it's coming. Brown herself, captioning the statement on Instagram, wrote that a lot is going to come out through her testimony and her husband's. That's not someone retreating from what she's already alleged publicly. That's someone saying she's legally boxed in on how much she can say about it right now, with 2 active cases running in parallel. The statement pivots hard toward the kids, saying they've witnessed multiple altercations, some allegedly recorded, and that protecting them remains the priority above everything else in this. That's a deliberate move. It reframes a defamation conversation into a family safety conversation, which is a much harder narrative for the public or a jury pool to push back against. The statement closes by thanking supporters for their patience and prayers, and says Brown will speak more fully once it's appropriate and legally advisable to do so. Amaker's not staying quiet on her end either. She posted her own statement calling the allegations completely false, saying they don't reflect who she is or how she carries herself professionally or personally. Her filing leans hard on that mistress and homewrecker language specifically, framing it as language that implies she condones violence against women and argues that's the phrase doing the real, lasting reputational damage, more than the affair claim on its own. 4 Emmys into a journalism career, and this is the headline sitting next to her name right now. That's essentially the argument her side is making for why the harm isn't temporary and won't fade once the news cycle moves on to something else. Here's the contradiction. Nobody's sitting with long enough. Brown reportedly said at one point that she never called her husband an abuser and asked the public to let police handle things without interference. She walked that specific claim back. She never walked back anything. Here's the contradiction. Nobody's sitting with long enough. Brown reportedly said at one point that she never called her husband an abuser and asked the public to let police handle things without interference. She walked that specific claim back. She never walked back anything. Involving Amaker specifically, no retraction, no correction, nothing on record. If you're building the case against her, that's exactly the gap you point to in front of a jury. She corrected one part of the public narrative and let the other part stand uncontested for weeks, which is the kind of detail that plays very differently in a courtroom than it does in a comments section. One of the posts cited in the complaint allegedly has Brown writing that she and Morgan were divorcing over his relationship with Francesca specifically, naming her directly in the context of the divorce rather than just implying it. That's a materially different legal exposure than a vague insinuation buried in a caption. Naming someone directly as the cause of a marriage ending in writing on a platform with a large audience is closer to the kind of statement defamation cases are actually decided on because it removes the ambiguity a defendant would otherwise lean on. Both the criminal and civil cases remain open right now, and nothing's been proven on either side of either matter. But once discovery actually gets underway, this stops being a statement war fought through Instagram captions and becomes a paperwork war. Text message logs, deposition transcripts, whatever financial records exist behind that app concept, all potentially becoming part of the public court record for anyone to read and pick apart. Tigger and Amaker already addressed this together on air at one point, with him apologizing to her directly, while the allegations were still actively swirling around both of them. That's not a normal industry moment. 2 co-workers processing a defamation-adjacent scandal live in front of an audience on the exact show that's now named directly in a federal complaint. 103 hasn't had to comment much publicly beyond that, but internally this is the kind of situation that puts a station in an impossible spot. They can't remove anyone without appearing to take a side in active litigation, and they can't ignore it either, since it's playing out on their own airwaves every morning. There's also a broader industry angle worth noting. Radio stations generally try to stay several steps